On today's Locked On Jayhawks, we're a week and a day from the KU football opener against Lindenwood. We take an early look at Lindenwood, the latest news around camp for KU football, top 10 quick things to be excited for at the season, and our safety room preview.
You are Locked On Jayhawks, your daily podcast on the Kansas Jayhawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Derek Johnson. You can find me on Twitter at DJohnsonRadio, and thanks for making Locked On Jayhawks your first listen every day. We are free and available anywhere you get your podcast, including on our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe to the show. Thank you to everydayers catching each and every one of our shows. On today's episode, we're talking KU Lindenwood, some early look at what they're going to bring to the table as we're a week and a day away. Also, the latest around KU football on camp, because KU Football Media Day was on Wednesday, so a lot of press conferences that were out there, a lot of quotes and interesting comments from some of the coaches that were out there. We'll also get to some things we're excited for with the KU football season and just football season in general, and then our safety room preview for KU football. This episode of Locked On Jayhawks is brought to you by Game Time. You might be looking for tickets for an upcoming KU football game. Well, check out Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply with Game Time. All right, let's start right here. Before we get into the KU Lindenwood talk, KU Football Media Day was yesterday. I guess if you're listening to this on a Wednesday, KU Football Media Day was on a Tuesday. And some interesting stuff from Lance Leipold and company in some of the press conferences there that I want to quick fire on here. He announced Jaylen Daniels is the starter for the Lindenwood game. Not that that's necessarily a surprise, but anytime you get news with the quarterback, that is newsworthy in a very big way. And obviously, I guess it would be more concerning if he wasn't named the quarterback, because then it would be like, okay, they're stringing this along a little bit. Or what happens if the depth chart comes out and he's listed as an or? It's like, oh, is there some more injury stuff we're not aware of? So good news there that he is named as the starter there. He also, Lance Leipold, said that 4 days ago it was the first time that Jaylen Daniels and the three starting receivers were all on the field together practicing since last season, and it was good to see. Leipold also mentioned you truly don't know the defensive line, like how good or what you have until you get into it, which is something we've kind of talked about here on the show. This idea of, last year Austin Booker was listed as the or. Technically, like, Hayden Hatcher started the game a season ago in the first game of the season. And you saw it immediately, even though it was an FCS opponent. You saw that first step. You saw that speed that he had around the edge and quick twitch as a pass rusher right away. But it's sometimes some guys are gamers. They're just better in games than practice. I mean, that was kind of the case with Jaylen Daniels. That was the case with Todd Reesing. Maybe it's a little bit different at quarterback, but still, like, you don't know till the live bullets are flying what you truly have. Some guys are better in practice. Some guys are better in games. And at the defensive line, I think he's waiting to see which guys kind of step up in game settings, because you have a lot of possible good players there, but who's going to step up in those game settings? And that'll be kind of interesting. Leipold mentioned he likes the linebacker room and how they can play downhill better than last season. He did also mention, though, still overcoming the leadership and the loss of Rich Miller, getting everybody into the right situation. But that's something I've continued to say. Like, I feel better about the run defense. I feel better about the athleticism you have at the linebacker position, that, yeah, if you get some of those other things accomplished, then this unit's going to be better than they were a season ago. This was kind of interesting. He mentioned that Tabor Allen and Charlie Weinrich were fighting for the field goal job. And so I guess that kind of means that it's down to those two. It seemed like Weinrich has had the leg up, I guess, pun intended there on that one. And so the fact that you've heard Weinrich and Pieper Gertis, and now you're hearing Weinrich and Tabor Allen, who's the common denominator there. It is Weinrich. But the fact that Tabor Allen is in deep on this competition probably tells you that he's made a lot of inroads and that maybe he is making this a serious competition. So good for him there. A guy who's been around the program for a while. At the very least, Allen will handle kickoffs again. Leipold, being he, mentioned Dean Miller, Marvin Grant, J.B. Brown, O.J. Burroughs as guys not being maybe talked about enough. Or guys that can maybe break out this season. And Brian Borland, the defense coordinator, in his press conference also talked up O.J. Burroughs. So there's a common one there. He also talked about Dylan Woodkey, DJ Withers, and Cornell Wheeler, and then Brown as well. So Brown's another common one. And then he said Mello Dotson had a really strong camp. So I feel even better about what you're getting from those two corners there. But If Dean Miller ends up being a really good player for this team, that would be such a huge boon for what this defense is trying to do. It seems like with OJ Burroughs, he's somebody who has been a little bit slept on, forgotten, because you think about Kenny Logan and what he did for the program. You think about Marvin Grant having a great year last year and getting ready for more this year. And Burroughs gets forgotten a little bit more among those guys. And I've been a big OJ Burroughs guy since he was a freshman. I've loved the ball skills and the awareness and the coverage skills that you're getting from the back end as the safety. I've kind of said this continually through the offseason. It would not surprise me if he popped this year and had like 5 interception season in his final season as a senior at KU, and cool that the coaches are kind of backing some of that stuff up. Maybe the most interesting comments, though, were on the offensive line, because there was maybe a little bit of a difference in how things were approached from Lance Leipold, the head coach, and Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator. So from Leipold, he said that he kind of likes where the guys are going. And he said he likes the 1 through 9 in the offensive line room, which I think if you're looking at who those 1 through 9 are, I would just kind of assume, like, I guess, Logan Brown, Michael Ford, Shane Bumgardner, Bryce Foster, Kobe Baines, Daryl Simmons, Nolan Gorchika, Bryce Cabledew, your starting right tackle. That would be 8. And then maybe the 9th is like Calvin Clements. Maybe it's an Emil Herring. Maybe it's Dre Dorian. I don't know who that 9th guy, James Livingston, right? The 9th could be somebody, but like those would be my guess on the solid 8 for the first guys. He also mentioned like Bumgarner, Foster still competing. He also mentioned they can rotate Kobe Baines with Daryl Simmons to keep Baines fresh in the 4th. I love that idea. And that's something they did last year. Basically, you had 6 linemen get 5 starter snaps. You basically rotated some of your guards. You played Armaj Reed Adams at guard and tackle, and it allowed guys to kind of stay fresh throughout the game. So I view, okay, Daryl Simmons will be that guy who kind of rotates in for them and allows players to stay rested and be fresh in the 4th and over the course of the full season. He also said that they are really close to figuring out the offensive line starters and hinted at it being next week when the depth chart comes out. But then you had, from what Jeff Grimes said, the offensive coordinator, he said the line is still a work in progress and the group is missing Nowitzki and his leadership. So what gives here? Why the difference between what the head coach and the offensive coordinator are saying? Would there really be that big of a difference in their opinion on things? You know, if things aren't going well, Lance Leipold will make it no secret like that, you know, he wants more from that position. So here's my guess of what happened, because if you go back, we talked about the comments from Jeff Grimes just maybe like a week and a half ago, that he was also kind of talking about, he was a little less bullish on the offensive line than some people have been. And I think now looking back on it, those comments and this comment here, based on what Lance Leipold said, I think those are maybe more motivational coach speak getting out to the media from Grimes. That's what it tells me, that like, hey, you guys are pretty good, but do you want to be great? Do you want to take that next step? Do you want to continue to work hard? Do you want to continue to have motivation? Do you want to continue to compete with each other? And that's kind of what Jeff Grimes is trying to do here in the media. I am leaning toward the idea the offensive line is going to be fine and that it is closer to being settled than you would expect, but that Grimes is just trying to be the max motivator here in this situation. And I think it could also mean that the players and the linemen are good and they're just settling on roles and they're just trying to figure out what all those are going to be. And I do think there is a hint, though, of the idea that he's saying the group is missing Nowitzki and his leadership. I think there's a great chance that maybe they do feel good about the offensive line and the players and where everything is settling, but they do need that guy to step up as a leader. And maybe that is challenging a specific player. Could it be an upperclassman player? Could it be a Bryce Foster coming in at the same position that basically that's what he's doing? He's challenging him, that's saying, hey, okay, you've started to figure out the playbook. You have the physical skills. Can now you be the leader too, and you be that perfect offensive lineman? That's kind of how I take all that stuff. So KU does take on Lindenwood a week from tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Wednesday. If you're listening to this a day late on Thursday, then it'd be a week from today. So some quick info on Lindenwood. We'll have a bigger preview on Lindenwood next week, but Lindenwood was picked 8th in the Ohio Valley Conference. That is of 9 teams. This is not a team who's projected to be a great FCS team. One of the things that stood out looking at their PFF grades from last season, solid skill players, actually, from a few guys like receiver Jeff Caldwell, running back Robert Giaimo. I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation, but both of them were helping them be top 45 in the FCS and running grade. So they had some good skill players who could make some people miss in the open field. But the offensive line really struggled for Lindenwood a season ago. Of the 6 offensive linemen who logged 200 or more blocking snaps last season, only 1 graded a 60 or higher in run blocking. That was Ty Johnson at a 71.5, and he's no longer on the team. Only 2 graded a 60 or higher in pass blocking, with Garrett Warren at a 60.3 and George Mickey Hahn at a 62.3, barely clearing even that mark to begin with. Both those guys are back, but overall this line has not been very good for Lindenwood. Feast if you're the KU defensive line and show them what's up. Now, overall, they ranked just 123rd among 128 FCS teams in 2023 in pass blocking. They ranked 62nd in run blocking and 94th in passing. On the defensive side of the ball, they were 116th on PFF and run defense. They were 81st in tackling, 67th in pass rush, so a little bit better there, but just 112th in coverage grade. At the end of the day, best quote of the day, maybe, in describing this game was from Brian Borland at Media Day. He basically just said, quote, "It's about us." That kind of rings the most true. This is mostly going to be about KU. One quick thought I'll leave you with on this KU Lindenwood game that I've been festering in my mind recently. Are they going to let Isaiah Marshall play? Because on one hand, great chance to get a young guy reps against a lesser team is to play Isaiah Marshall in this game. But also, if you want the idea of redshirting him, and you know that Jaylen Daniels does have his injury past, if you view Isaiah Marshall as being somebody who would play for him if he was injured for a few games, then maybe do you not play him in this game so that you can further secure that he would have that red shirt still available to him? I don't know. Just kind of an interesting thought process there. Let's continue on. 10 quick things to be excited for KU football in the 2024 season. This episode is brought to you by Game Time, which has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have time to waste searching through thousands of tickets. You know, they have their 50% off Labor Day offer of Diamondbacks Dodgers, so if you're going to be in that area, boom, there you go. That's a fun thing that you can attend to. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the industry with Game Time ticket coverage. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concert events, MLB events, college football events. We got week 0 coming up this weekend. Maybe you're going to a game. Maybe you're thinking about going to a game, but you're like, I don't know about tickets. Go to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off for your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We're also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You've heard us a lot talk about FanDuel here on our Locked On Podcast Network, because FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, so you got about a month here, all FanDuel customers can bet $5, that's it, and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Would you like for $5 to watch all those NFL games? I certainly would. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game after that. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. So you can place your $5 bet there on a future for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. Hopefully that's a good investment down the road, and you get your 3-week free trial. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back. Thank you for making Locked On Jayhawks your first listen every day. And don't forget to make Locked On College Football your second listen every day. Or check out one of our other shows across another sports league, or if you want to see one of KU football's opponents. All right, 10 quick things I'm most excited for about this football season. No particular order here, but just 10 things. Let's get this one. Tailgating and the hoopla around games. This could apply for anything. This is just football season in general, right? Tailgating, having some burgers, brats, right? Even if it's a road game and you're grilling up in your backyard, if it's going to the game, right? Going to Arrowhead this year, having a good time, going on a road game, making a road trip with some friends or family, right? The tailgating, the hoopla around the game, the excitement that builds up to the game, that has to be on here, right? I had to mention it. I am actually really excited for Arrowhead. I don't think I would be as excited. Like if they were like, hey, we're going to play at Arrowhead forever from here on out, I don't think I would be as excited, but for like a one-off thing, I kind of like it as a non-sustained thing where it's like, oh, you get to go be in a pro stadium for a year. And because of that, like there's a lot more tickets for sale, and you're going to get really good tickets and seats to the game because of that. Like I'm super excited for that. And I do think that is going to be kind of a cool twist on this season. Devin Neal's pursuit of legacy is certainly one quick thing to be excited for this KU football season, because He is a little less than 800 yards away from the career rushing yard record. He is on pace to get the rushing touchdown record. He's got a chance to have All-American status. He's got a chance to have that team success. He's got a real chance at the end of the year. I know it sounds hyperbolic, but to legitimately, at some point down the road, maybe it's in 20 years after he graduates, having a statue in Lawrence, right? If KU wins a Big 12 title and Devin Neal's a first-team All-American and he now has the all-time career rushing record and rushing touchdown record, and he has single-season records for rushing yards and touchdowns, like, it's going to be hard not to build that guy a statue, especially with him being the local Lorenzian. Jaylen Daniels playing football. I mean, just in general, that always makes me excited. That's one of the worst things about him being injured. It's not just that it hurts the team's success and it sucks for him and everything, but it's like, he's just really fun to watch. He's a really entertaining football player. He plays football in a very exciting style, and he's very good at it. So just watching him play football, just enjoy what you get, because you never know. And I think that's what these last 2 years have really taught us with the injuries. Enjoy what you get when Jaylen is on the field. Enjoy every moment, every play, every snap, because you don't know. An injury could come in any time. But also, we don't know. This could be Jaylen Daniels' last year at Kansas, right? He could go pro at the end of the season, right? He could have another year and decide to transfer and make $1 billion in the transfer portal. Enjoy this year with Jaylen Daniels, right? And all things go well, he'll have a great year and be able to go pro right after the year, and it'll work out for everyone. The receiver room is one quick thing I'm excited for, right? Because I think they're so underrated, but they make so many big plays. They make so many highlight plays throughout a game, throughout a season, that I'm excited to see, because this is basically the third year we've gotten to see this group together with Skinner, Arnold, and Grimm. And obviously there's the other guys that factor in, like Trevor Wilson and Doug Emelian. But those three guys specifically, you don't see a studly group of three receivers stick together for that long very often, right? Getting 3 years out of it, enjoy that while you can as well. Another quick thing, excited for what Jeff Grimes is going to change about the offense. Lance Leipold in some of the media day stuff talked about that it was up to Jeff Grimes to get acclimated with how they practice and their terminology and some of those things, which I think is a good thing, that it tells you that KU is not just going to change to the Jeff Grimes offense. They're having Jeff Grimes bring new ideas and some of his stuff into the KU offense that has been very successful. And I think that's going to be a perfect blend, but you want to see what it looks like. What are some of the formations? Who plays more? Who plays less? Who gets targeted more? Who gets targeted less? And how does it have an effect on the team? Another quick thing, guys stepping into bigger roles on the defensive side of the ball. So this applies to the linebacker position, where I've been a huge JB Brown guy, right? I think Cornell Wheeler's going to have a good season. They're taking bigger roles. Some of the guys competing on the defensive line, taking on bigger roles this season. You could say that whoever's going to be that third safety, taking on bigger roles, right? Jason Gilliam taking on bigger roles. I want to see those guys step up, because I think there's a real chance the KU is a better defensive team than they are an offensive team in 2025. Now, part of that could depend, going back, what if Jaylen Daniels has another year after this one? Because he technically could, right? That maybe could change the precipice. But you look at all the young talent on KU and some of the players stepping into bigger roles this year, and some of those who could be back again in 2025. I think that'll be very interesting this year. The big plays the secondary will make is another quick thing here, right? Because it's not just that you have a good lockdown secondary. It's that Kobe Bryant, Mello Dotson, those guys are trying to take it to the house, right? And OJ Burroughs can get some picks there too. He's had an interception at least every year that he's been at KU. So the big plays the secondary will make, because when I think back to last season, like, there were a bunch of great plays, a bunch of great memories and moments. Play of the year for me, it was Kobe Bryant knocking the crap out of the BYU player and picking up the scoop and getting 6 out of it. Fall weather for that brief bit. This one kind of goes in with the tailgating, I guess, but like, fall weather is the best weather. And that brief month where we're going to have fall weather and KU football going on at the same time, chef's kiss, right? And then the last one here for 10 quick things to be excited for with the KU football season. How real is the Big 12 title and college football playoff talk for KU, right? It's going to be weird, because if KU loses an early game, it's going to feel like the sky is falling in a way that it feels if you're a fan of Alabama or Texas or Oklahoma or one of these other schools, where it's like, you lose one game, you lose. Maybe that changes now with the current iteration of the 12-team playoff. But like, for the longest time in college football, it made losing even one game feel horrifying if you were a title contender, because it's like, well, that might have been our one shot. And then once the playoff expanded to 4, it gave you a little better chance. Now that it is 12, maybe it's a little bit more, but still, like, you run out of bullets because you might only get 2 of those now as opposed to 1. But how real is that? How much can they make that dream a reality? I mean, I love the talent and the ability of this team to get to that point if they can stay healthy. But how real is all that? And boy, could it be a really fun special season if that stuff does come to fruition. All right, let's continue on. Safety rooms preview on Locked On Jayhawks. We are brought to you by Ibata. It's summertime, which means it's barbecue season. Stock up on all your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every purchase when you use Ibata. So you won't have to choose between burgers or hot dogs. You can get them both. Ibata is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, which is great for me for having a new baby. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. It's time you joined just over 50 million users who use Ibata to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibata by using the code LOCKEDONCollegeFootball when you register. So go to Locked On College, when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back and use code Locked On College. That is Ibata, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store today. Use Locked On College for your code to get that $5. I continue on with Locked On Jayhawks, and thank you again for joining the show. We'll have a show tomorrow talking a little Heisman race. Who has the better chance, Devin Neal or Jaylen Daniels? We'll do that with Nick Schwerdt. Football Friday, we're going to have early previews of KU Colorado, KU Baylor, and we'll get to another positional preview. So we got our safety room here. The players in this room: Marvin Grant, who is a redshirt senior; OJ Burroughs, who's a true senior; Devin Dye, who is a redshirt junior; Jaylen Dye, who is a redshirt junior. Brothers there. Damani Maxton's a true freshman. Mason Ellis, redshirt sophomore. He's made some inroads this year. Caleb Purdy, a redshirt sophomore. Taylor Davis, a redshirt freshman. Heard good things about him last year as a true freshman. So imagine that'll set him up for some playing time here, maybe in a year or two. And then you have walk-ons. I think Landon Nelson's a walk-on, maybe not. Redshirt junior, and then Coulter McDaniel is a freshman. So the biggest storylines here, because this is a position that feels more set, right? Marvin Grant and OJ Burroughs, those are probably going to be your starters. You're going to play some formations where you have Marvin Grant in at the Cinco or the Hawk, whatever you want to call it. And so then a third safety is going to come in. Who is that third safety? I don't know. I think there's a chance it could be Devin Dye or Jaylen Dye, or it could be Mason Ellis, but it'll probably be one of those three. But it feels like the two deep pretty set as well, with Grant, Burroughs, the Dye brothers, and then maybe Mason Ellis kind of sneaking in there as an or with someone. But the big question here, the big storyline, no Kenny Logan. How is that going to affect things? Because as confident as I am still in the safety group with what they have back there, and even some of that future talent, like I mentioned, I think Taylor Davis is going to be a future dude. I think Damani Maxton in a year or two is going to be a future dude for you at that safety position. So I feel good there, but Kenny Logan, that's a lot of tackles, a lot of plays where he came up and made a tackle from the safety spot that turned what could have been a 15, a 20-yard gain for the opposition into just a 6 or 7, and you allow your defense to kind of bend but don't break in that way, right? Making some key plays, being a returner, being a leader at the back end of the defense, being an experienced player, right? How do you overcome that? I think they're going to be able to do it because they have a lot of upper-class players and a lot of solid players in that room, but that certainly is a big storyline into this one. So is this room better, worse, or the same to last year? I actually am going to say better. I know no Kenny Logan, but I do expect big things from OJ Burroughs in his final season. I do think Marvin Grant can be just as good, if not better, than Kenny Logan. And I like the backups all the way through the 3 deep, probably even more than last season because it's similar guys, but maybe they're a year older, maybe they're a year more developed. And so I think the safety room is going to be really good for KU here. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Locked On Jayhawks. You can catch our show anywhere you get your podcasts, including on our YouTube page. We will be back for tomorrow's action, talking a little Heisman talk, Jaylen Daniels, Devin Neal. So you're not going to want to miss that. Make sure you're catching it on Locked On Jayhawks, and we'll see you then.